The vagus nerve. The word vagus means wandering in Latin. This is a very appropriate name, as the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve. The vagus nerve or the pneumogastric nerve is the most important nerve you probably didn't know you had. It runs all the way from the brain stem to part of the colon. There are 12 cranial nerves in the body. They come in pairs and help to link the brain with other areas of the body, such as the head, neck, and torso. Some send sensory information, including details about smells, sights, tastes, and sounds, to the brain. These nerves are known as having sensory functions. Other cranial nerves control the movement of various muscles and the function of certain glands. These are known as motor functions. While some cranial nerves have either sensory or motor functions, others have both. The vagus nerve is such a nerve. The vagus nerve is a long meandering bundle of motor and sensory fibers that links the brain stem to the heart, lungs, and gut. It also branches out to touch and interact with the liver, spleen, gallbladder, ureter, female fertility organs, neck, ears, tongue, and kidneys. It powers up our involuntary nerve center, the parasympathetic nervous system, and controls unconscious body functions, as well as everything from keeping our heart rate constant and food digestion to breathing and sweating. It also helps regulate blood pressure and blood glucose balance, promotes general kidney function, helps release bile and testosterone, stimulates the secretion of saliva, assists in controlling taste and releasing tears, and plays a major role in fertility issues and orgasms in women. The vagus nerve has fibers that innervate virtually all of our internal organs. The management and processing of emotions happens via the vagal nerve between the heart, brain and gut, which is why we have a strong gut reaction to intense mental and emotional states. There are 3 interconnecting regulators which control, or fail to control, the physical body. 1. The etheric body through the 7 major centers and the minor centers. 2. The endocrine system through the 7 major glands. 3. The nervous system, and particularly the vagus nerve with its effect on the heart and the bloodstream. One key role that it plays is as the reset button to counteract when our alarm system has been set off, resulting in the infamous fight, flight or freeze response as some type of threat has been perceived. The vagus nerve basically tells the body and brain it is safe now. The threat is gone. All bodily functions can return to normal now. The mechanisms probably worked great in the Neanderthal days, when a saber-toothed tiger might be looming on the horizon or outside the cave. What we may have now with an epidemic of high anxiety is a malfunctioning, overly sensitive alarm system, just like the car down the block, that seems to blare at the slightest vibration. Threats now setting off our alarm systems include possible job performance issues, paying bills, fears of romantic rejection, or even fears that people might see through our outer persona. Meanwhile, our calming system, the vagus nerve, may be underactive, almost having forgotten how to function. What can result is a worst-case scenario where the alarm system, anxiety, is always on. The scary part is that we can get used to that, while it wreaks havoc upon our bodies. There is hope, however, in our good friend the vagus nerve. While we have to work on our alarm system not always going off, we can also work on stimulating our vagus nerve, so that our body can remember how its calming system is supposed to work. This important nerve is bidirectional, meaning it sends messages from the brain to the body and vice versa. However, 80% of its capacity is directed towards channeling information from the body to the brain. It's how the body talks to the brain. Doctors have long exploited the nerve's influence on the brain. Electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve, called vagus nerve stimulation, VNS, is sometimes used to treat people with epilepsy or depression. VNS is designed to prevent seizures by sending regular, mild pulses of electrical energy to the brain via the vagus nerve. These pulses are supplied by a device something like a pacemaker. It is placed under the skin on the chest wall, and a wire runs from it to the vagus nerve in the neck. Researchers studying the effects of vagus stimulation on epilepsy noticed that patients experienced a second benefit unrelated to seizure reduction. Their moods also improved. When someone is dedicated to the path of consciousness, or spiritual awakening, means that the activated Alta Major Chakra will become the distribution center of life force energy. This life force energy moves down and up the Antakarana, the energetic spinal column, radiating magnetically to open the chakra centers. The rasa, in other words, the reticular activating system, is the networked hub of the physical nervous system, sending and receiving signals, creating connections using the endogenous hormones, neurotransmitters and neuropeptides that move throughout the body. The vagus nerve carries the signals that coordinate these collective movements and activations, creating a homeodynamically balanced nervous system within the body. In 1957, Magan and Marazzi discovered that the reticular formation was the area of the body that aroused the cortex of the brain. This thesis proposes that this Ras vagus nerve Alta Major Chakra connection is an axis which acts as a communication nexus between the physical systems and consciousness, and which, when activated consciously, can arouse a profound spiritual connection. It is our individual choice to make. Our power is in the here and now, and the journey begins in our physical bodies. Whether or not we choose to acknowledge our psychic potential as presented by Master DK, each of us may recall times when we have both listened and not listened to our gut instincts. These psychic abilities may be no different than our innate ability to receive and respond to these gut instincts. The time has come to reconnect with our true nature, which is both physical and spiritual. The Ras vagus nerve Alta Major Chakra axis speaks to the anatomy of the spirit and the self. The connection with the mystical Kundalini. The yogis and rishis of old sat in lotus, immersed in samadhi, listening to the sounds of the ether, and bringing through timeless information from the cosmos. How did they reach this state of peaceful bliss and cosmic consciousness? With eyes closed, tuned into an awakened pineal gland, and attuned to the fires of consciousness from the dark space behind shut eyelids, yogis were able to describe the highly tuned and finely orchestrated physiology of the human body when functioning at optimal performance. This yogic state of being is one where physical, mental and spiritual aspects of a person have combined into one, and are therefore not seen or experienced as separate entities. The mystical Kundalini has been described by many as the life force energy that travels up the spine, activating chakra centers and firing up the pineal gland, allowing the practitioner to experience higher states of consciousness. The practice of yoga, especially Kundalini yoga, is aimed at awakening this mystical channel and merging the qualities of the masculine and feminine natures in the body, and therefore harmonizing the left and right hemispheres of the brain for total consciousness. Kundalini, when awakened and activated, travels up the spine and both purifies and turns on the 7 main vortexes situated along the spine known as chakras. Along the way, Kundalini helps to bring prana to the various organs and glands located along this vital channel, helping to maintain the pristine health of the body-mind. The vagus nerve reaches from the position of the first chakra up to the crown. The function of the vagus nerve, which is interestingly enough really a pair of nerves referred to as one, is to collect data from all the organs and glands of the body, including the stomach and heart, thymus and thyroid, and bring this information to the brain for deduction. We can distinguish some interesting similarities of Kundalini with the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is 2 nerves recognized as one. The Kundalini serpent is 2 psychic channels, Ida and Pingala, which, once purified and awakened, function as one, the Sushumna channel. The vagus nerve runs from the colon to the brain. The Kundalini rests in the first chakra, found in the pelvic floor at the base of the spine, and rises to the pineal gland in the center of the brain. Both run through the spinal cord. Both touch and interact with the organs and glands along the spine. The vagus nerve takes information from the stomach, and an impaired vagus nerve will result in stomach problems. The Kundalini has a main psychic center in the navel, Manipura. When this center is not activated, the result can be digestive and stomach issues as well as feelings of disempowerment. The heart is in great communication with the brain through the vagus nerve. They are closely connected, as is the heart chakra and the pineal gland, which are interacted with through the Kundalini life force energy. The similarities and connections are unending between these two aspects of self. It has become clear that the vagus nerve may be the physical manifestation of the life force energy known by sages of old as Kundalini Shakti. The Shakti is akin to the fires of our nervous system, and as we begin to open ourselves more and more to the increase in cosmic energies coming onto the planet, we will all begin to see how prepared our physical bodies are for this increase in Shakti. By knowing the power of a healthy vagus nerve and how to strengthen it, we are suddenly equipped with very real grounded information about how to activate our spiritual centers and our life force energy. They are intimately connected. In fact, there is no way to separate them, as we are realizing through the integration process of ascension. How to unlock the powers of the vagus nerve. In 1921, a German physiologist first discovered that stimulating the vagus nerve caused the heart rate to slow down by triggering the release of a substance he called Vagusstoff, vagus substance. It was later discovered that this substance was actually acetylcholine, an important neurotransmitter in our nervous system. Since then, researchers have discovered a lot more about the vagus nerve and the role it plays in quite a few different diseases and important systems in the body. For example, electrical stimulation of this nerve has been shown to reduce the rate of epileptic seizures and help with depressive symptoms. Vagal tone, or how strong your vagus nerve is, can be connected to inflammation, immune system regulation, metabolism, and emotional regulation, which we can all agree are pretty important. When people say they feel it in their gut, that's not just imagination, according to Dr. Mark Serkis, acupuncturist and doctor of Oriental and Pastoral Medicine. Our gut instincts are not fantasies, but real nervous signals that guide much of our lives. This is because the enteric nervous system, ENS, which governs the function of the gastrointestinal tract, communicates with the central nervous system, the brain, via the vagus nerve. This is known as the gut-brain axis. The ENS is sometimes referred to as the second brain or backup brain centered in our solar plexus. While the enteric nervous system, which includes the solar plexus, has also been called the second brain over the past few decades, the solar plexus has been called the second brain in the East for thousands of years. Low vagal tone is associated with poor emotional and attentional regulation, inflammation, depression, and is even used as a measurement for a person's sensitivity to stress. Meanwhile, a healthy vagal tone is associated with the opposite, positive emotions and psychological balance. Some studies have even shown that increasing vagal tone could be helpful in treating addiction and certain cravings. Knowing this, it might be time for all of us to study up on this very important part of the body. The vagus nerve doesn't need to be shocked into shape. It can be toned and strengthened similar to a muscle. Here are some simple things you can do that can stimulate the vagus nerve. 1. Singing and chanting, humming, mantra chanting, hymn singing, and upbeat energetic singing all increase heart rate variability, HRV, in slightly different ways. Essentially, singing is like initiating a vagal pump sending out relaxing waves. Singing at the top of your lungs works the muscles in the back of the throat to activate the vagus. Singing in unison, which is often done in churches and synagogues, also increases HRV and vagus function. Singing has been found to increase oxytocin, also known as the love hormone, because it makes people feel closer to one another. 2. Yoga and Tai Chi both increase vagus nerve activity and your parasympathetic system in general. Studies have shown that yoga increases GABA, a calming neurotransmitter in your brain. Researchers believe it does this by stimulating vagal afferents, fibers, which increase activity in the parasympathetic nervous system. This is especially helpful for those who struggle with anxiety or depression. 3. Breathing deeply and slowly. Your heart and neck contain neurons that have receptors called baroreceptors, which detect blood pressure and transmit the neuronal signal to your brain. This activates your vagus nerve that connects to your heart to lower blood pressure and heart rate. Slow breathing, with a roughly equal amount of time breathing in and out, increases the sensitivity of baroreceptors and vagal activation. Breathing around 5 to 6 breaths per minute in the average adult can be very helpful. 4. Cold. Studies show that when your body adjusts to cold, your fight or flight, sympathetic system declines and your rest and digest, parasympathetic system increases, which is mediated by the vagus nerve. Any kind of acute cold exposure will increase vagus nerve activation. You can dip your face in cold water to start. 5. Meditation. There are 2 types of meditation that can stimulate the vagus nerve. Loving-kindness meditation increases vagal tone, as measured by heart rate variability. Also, chanting stimulates the vagus nerve. 6. Laughter. Happiness and laughter are natural immune boosters. Laughter also stimulates the vagus nerve. Research shows how laughter increases HRV in a group environment. There are various case reports of people fainting from laughter, and this may be from the vagus nerve parasympathetic system being stimulated too much. Fainting can come after laughter as well as urination, coughing, swallowing or bowel movement, all of which are helped along by vagus activation. 7. Massage. Massaging certain areas like your carotid sinus, located on your neck, can stimulate the vagus nerve. This helps reduce seizures. A pressure massage can activate the vagus nerve. These massages help infants gain weight by stimulating gut function, and this is largely mediated by vagus nerve activation. Foot massages can also increase vagal activity and heart rate variability, while lower your heart rate and blood pressure. All of these decrease heart disease risk. 8. Exercise. Exercise increases your brain's growth hormone, supports your brain's mitochondria, and helps reverse cognitive decline. But it's also been shown to stimulate the vagus nerve, which leads to beneficial brain and mental health effects. Mild exercise also stimulates gut flow, which is mediated by the vagus nerve. 9. Gargling. Another home remedy for an understimulated vagus nerve is to gargle with water. Gargling actually stimulates the muscles of the palate, which are fired by the vagus nerve. Typically, patients will tear up a bit, which is a good sign, and if they don't, we recommend that they do it regularly every day until they notice that they do start tearing up a bit, says Hoffman. This has been shown to immediately improve working memory performance. 10. Oxytocin. Oxytocin increases vagal nerve activity from the brain to the gut, in the brain and orally ingested, which induces relaxation and decreases appetite. Mice who had their vagus taken out didn't exhibit the appetite-reducing effects of oxytocin. 11. Zinc. Zinc increases vagus stimulation in rats, fed a zinc-deficient diet for 3 days. It's a very common mineral that most people don't get enough of. 12. Positive social relationships. A study had participants think compassionately about others, while silently repeating positive phrases about friends and family. Compared to the controls, the meditators showed an overall increase in positive emotions like serenity, joy, and hope after completing the class. These positive thoughts of others led to an improvement in vagal function as seen in heart rate variability. The results also showed a more toned vagus nerve than when simply meditating. 13. Acupuncture. Traditional acupuncture points stimulate the vagus nerve. In particular, acupuncture to the ear stimulates it. 14. Chew gum. CCK. CCK is a hormone released in the gut in response to a high-fat meal. CCK directly activates vagal impulses in the brain. CCK ability to reduce food intake and appetite is dependent on the vagus nerve impulse to and from the brain. Chewing gum helps increase CCK release. 15. Coffee enemas. Enemas are like sprints for your vagus nerve. Expanding the bowel increases vagus nerve activation, as is done with enemas. This cleansing is accomplished by increasing the liver's capacity to detoxify toxins in the blood and binding them to the bile. In the process, the liver cleanses itself as it releases the toxic bile into the small, then large, intestine for evacuation. The entire blood supply circulates through the liver every 3 minutes. By retaining the coffee 12 to 15 minutes, the blood will circulate 4 to 5 times for cleansing, much like a dialysis treatment. The water content of the coffee stimulates intestinal peristalsis and helps to empty the large intestine with the accumulated toxic bile. 16. Nirvana. This wearable product sends a gentle electrical wave through the left ear canal to stimulate the body's vagus nerve while sensing with music, which in turn stimulates the release of neurotransmitters in the brain that generate a calming sensation throughout the body. 17. Relax. Learning how to chill may be the #1 thing to help keep your vagus nerve toned. According to Hoffman, most relaxing activities will stimulate the vagus nerve. Ultimately, this is where the most profoundly felt impacts can be found. Reading a book, listening to music, watching children play, whatever it is, my advice is to seek relaxation and make time in your life for it. Dr. Justin Hoffman. 18. Tongue depressors. Tongue depressors stimulate the gag reflex. Some say that gag reflexes are like doing push-ups for the vagus nerve, while gargling and singing loudly are like doing sprints. 19. Fasting. Intermittent fasting and reducing calories both increase high-frequency heart rate variability in animals, which is a marker of vagal tone. Indeed, many anecdotal reports show that intermittent fasting benefits heart rate variability. When you fast, part of the decrease in metabolism is mediated by the vagus nerve. Specifically, the vagus detects a decline in blood glucose and a decrease of mechanical and chemical stimuli from the gut. This increases the vagus impulses from the liver to the brain, NTS, which slows the metabolic rate. 20. Prayer. Studies have shown that reciting the rosary prayer increases vagus activation. Specifically, it enhances cardiovascular rhythms such as diastolic blood pressure and HRV. Studies also found that the reading of one cycle of the rosary takes approximately 10 seconds, and thus causes readers to breathe at 10-second intervals, includes both in and out breath, which increases HRV, and therefore vagus function. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Join our spiritual community by clicking the subscribe button. If you found value on this video, please share it. Have a magnificent rest of the day.